Last week, the 30-year tagged a 19-year high, Bitcoin ripped 25%, and the S&P still lost 1.4. This week has to decide which of those was the tell. Good morning, it's Sunday, August 23rd. I'm Nick Vertucci with Ashley Reyes and Marcus Brooks. Grab your coffee. This is the weekend edition, the week ahead. No cash tape to recap. The calendar, the earnings slate, the one theme most likely to drive this market before Friday's close, and what each of these two needs to see by the bell. 4 days, 3 tests. July PCE, Nvidia after the close, and Kevin Warsh's first Jackson Hole as chair. Monday is not empty either. Scott Bessent has a podium about Iran before U.S. stocks reopen.
I did not sleep, and I will not apologize, because that is the loudest week we've had since he took the job.
You say loud. I heard scheduled.
Scheduled is loud when the 30-year is sitting at 5.28.
Scoreboard first, and this one's merciful. Yesterday was the week graded. Nobody wrote a new call for today, so there's nothing to mark this morning. Walking out numbers, said his words, because they still bite. Ashley is 14 and 17, 2 under, 2-day skid. Marcus is 17 and 13, 4 up on her, streak of -1 after he ate his own Sunday Russell call. Sarah stays 0 and 1. Dave stays 0 and 2.
Small mercies.
She's still 2 under. I'll enjoy the cushion. It's not a personality.
It's absolutely a personality.
2 sentences from yesterday, because this is a serial. Call of the week was Ashley's, the 30-year back above 525 on a treasury operation that does not start until September 9th. Miss of the week was also hers. Gold under 43.50 if the minutes were a fight. The minutes were a fight. The medal went to $4,675, $300. She owned it. Marcus, your BJ's ticket, overpaid, and your Sunday Walmart clean and Russell Records call did not. Both splits walk in unpaid. Crack versus substitution on the shopper. Bandage versus climax on the long end.
I priced the Fed. I did not price the fiscal bid. I am not running the gold call back. I am running the long end because that's the one that actually graded.
I'm not running the Russell back either. I asked for clean. I got an adjective. Different week.
Today's problem is not Friday's podium first. It's the theme. One theme. The one most likely to drive the tape by Friday. Ashley, a sentence, not a paragraph.
Cost of capital. Not chips. Not groceries. Not a press conference. The rate the market uses to turn tomorrow's cash into today's price. That's the week.
I put a comma in that. Demand can still win a week like this. A 92 billion print with a raise is a numerator. Duration is a denominator. Those are not the same trade, and last week you kept mashing them.
Last week the denominator took 5% out of semiconductors without a single chip cycle miss. That's not a mash. That's the
valve. I gave you that sentence yesterday. I also said it was not the whole story. This week has a print that can actually test it.
Translate duration. One plain sentence for anyone pouring coffee and not sitting a bond desk.
When the long bond yield goes up, the stuff whose money arrives years from now gets cheaper today, even if the business didn't get worse. Nvidia is a claim on cash in 2028. A grocery store is a claim on cash on Tuesday.
Marcus, is that the week or last week's hangover?
Hangover if the 10-year rolls over on a quiet print. The week if it doesn't. Reuters on Friday. Nvidia's report and Jackson Hole test whether the AI surge can live with rising uncertainty over growth and rates. That's a live sentence. It's not a eulogy.
Uncertainty? Markets are pricing a 35% chance of a September hike, 66 by December. That's not uncertainty. That's a committee that dissented, 3 to hold last month, a chair who dropped forward guidance, and a 30-year that already tagged 5.34. I love this setup. I also think it's the number that keeps me up, because if PCE is sticky and oil is still in the 90s, Warsh doesn't get to be boring on Friday. He just doesn't.
35% is not a hike. It's a coin that still comes up tails. You keep talking like the hike is the base case. It isn't.
I'm talking like the option is live. That's different, and you know it.
Give me a level, not a vibe. What does the 10-year have to do this week for your theme to be the week?
480. Hold it. Print it. Close Friday at or above it. Then, last week's 474 was the pause, not the high. If it slicks back into the mid-460s because Nvidia said something nice, Marcus gets the week and I get loud about a squeeze that still has a pulse.
I'd flip it. If Nvidia clears 92 with a raise and the stock holds Friday's 214 through Friday's close, the numerator showed up. If they beat and still can't hold the close, her cost of capital read is the week, and I'll say so.
That split stays open. Watch 480 in the 10-year against 214 in Nvidia. If the 10-year is through 480, even on a clean print, Ashley has the better read. If it fades toward 465 and Nvidia holds the close, Marcus does. I don't want... It's mixed on Friday.
You won't get it.
Mixed is still a cop-out.
Calendar in order because Monday can hijack the map. Ashley, Bessent.
Monday. Scott Bessent holds a press conference to talk about exactly what we're going to do on Iran. His sentence on CNBC, Thursday. Toughest sanctions in history. 1-2 punch with the blockade. Collapse this regime. He also said he doesn't really understand the oil spike, which is a stunning thing to say when Brent just settled 94.39. I cannot believe I get paid to watch that. It's incredible. It's also the first scheduled event that can move the barrel before cash reopens.
File it. Rank it. A podium is not a barrel.
Rank it third again. I dare you.
Reuters had Brent up 6.4 on the week, WTI 5.7, both tagged their highest since July 24th. Iran said any new U.S. threats would be devastating. Institute for the Study of War had him announcing further measures on the 24th against Iran and anyone still commercially tied to it. Crude first, yield second. It's not automatically Wednesday.
See? That's where I disagree. You keep ranking oil third, and every $10 move in WT. I has been adding something like a quarter point to headline CPI with a lag. 94 is not a sideshow sitting under a 3.6 PCE call. It's the
input. I heard you. It's still not the print. The print is Wednesday. I ranked cash over a transcript all last week. It paid until it didn't. Then it paid again on BJ's. I'm not letting a Monday briefing become the whole week before it happens.
Kapler, because I need a number, not adjectives. Saturday's note had 7 commodity vessels on Thursday. Pre-war, Hormuz handled about a fifth of global oil and LNG. Washington says the strait is open. Tehran says it remains shut. The 60-day memorandum expired last weekend and was not renewed.
7 ships is not open. That's a trickle with the press release on top. The UAE already suspended financial transactions with Iran this week. Ukraine hit a Russian refinery in Perm. If Bessent names counterparties tomorrow, China, anyone still lifting barrels, 94 is not the high. If it's a recap of Thursday's television, the barrel fades and he gets his ranking.
That's the cleanest version of her case all morning. I'll give it to her until the podium actually says a name. What does 95 Brent do to your November multiple if it prints on a Monday and PCE is still 2 days away?
It makes Wednesday louder. Sticky inflation with a live oil shock is the hike conversation, and I am so here for watching whether Warsh pretends those are separate rooms. They're not.
Hold that. Tuesday is not empty. Consumer confidence and new home sales at 10 Eastern. 2-year auction, Intuit and Zoom. Dick's Sporting Goods. Leftover consumer after Walmart, Ross, Target, and BJ's. Ashley, are you actually watching confidence or is that a shrug?
I'm watching whether it rolls over after a 6-year low Walmart ticket and a 1.1 basket. If the mood number cracks and new home sales stay soft, that's the real income story walking into PCE. If it holds, he gets another day of substituting, not breaking.
I'll take the shopper. Ross printed 10 on traffic. BJ's merch 3.1, ticket positive. Sam's transactions up 7. I'm not using a Tuesday survey to retire that. Intuit is small business. Zoom is software duration into a 474 10-year. I'd rather see whether Zoom can hold a multiple than whether a confidence index wiggles.
Devil's advocate, Marcus. Last week's LEI turned positive for the first time in 4 years, and Conference Board said the drag was consumer expectations. That's her shopper. If Tuesday confirms that drag, your substitution story is a format win sitting on a mood loss. Why isn't that the week?
Because mood can be ugly while activity is fine. We ran that on Philly. 47.4 against 25, prices paid eased, employment hot. Friday's flash. PMI, S&P Global, Composite 56, Services 56.8, a 20-month high. Chris Williamson called it booming, third quarter near 3% annualized. I'm not letting a survey outrank a 56 p.m. Because Walmart had a bad multiple.
3% growth with a $90 barrel and a 5-handle 30-year is not Goldilocks. That's an economy hot enough to keep a hawkish minority in the game. What does a 56 PMI do to your hike odds if core PCE comes in at 0.2?
It makes me wait for the print. Activity firm, prices contained is still my base. Hot prices with a 56 is your minutes coming alive. I said I'd sit up. I will.
You'll sit up. I'll be standing.
I know.
Wednesday, dense day, pieces, not a pile. 8:30 Eastern, July PCE, personal income, personal spending, second estimate of second quarter, GDP, durable goods, 5-year auction after, Nvidia after the close, Salesforce the same night. Street on PCE, Ashley, and don't round.
Headline, up 1/10 month over month, annual rate, 3.6 from 3.7. Core up 0.2 after June's 1/10, annual holding, 3.3. Spending up 0.2, income up 3. Trading, economics and CMC, not me guessing. June's headline actually fell 1/10, which is why this can look like a reacceleration even if the year-over-year eases a tick. I love a number that can wear two faces. 0.2 on core is the line that keeps September live.
GDP, same dump.
Advance was 1.5 annualized. First quarter was 2.1. BEA puts the second estimate out with corporate profits at the same 8:30. I don't have a consensus. I'm willing to invent for the revision. Friday's PM. I said the third quarter is tracking closer to 3. That's a handoff, not a funeral. Durable goods, street around plus 0.7. CAPEX. I care more whether durables confirm the PMI than whether GDP wiggles 0.1.
Wait, back up. You're going to fade the Fed's favorite inflation gauge because durables might be fine?
I'm going to rank PCE first, GDP second, durables third, Nvidia that night. I'm not fading PCE. I'm refusing to pretend 4 numbers are 1 number.
Steelman, her PCE case. 10 seconds. Version where 0.2 on core actually changes the week.
Fine. 0.2 after a 1/10 is the reacceleration the minutes warned about. Oil is already feeding the headline with a lag, a 56 p.m. I says the economy can absorb another hike, and Warsh doesn't get to talk about financial innovation on Friday without someone asking about 3.3 core. That's the strongest version. I don't buy it as the base, but that's the version.
I'll take the Steelman.
Don't get used to it.
2 Sundays in a row is a habit.
1. Last Sunday, I Steelman the consumer. Different patient.
What would Ashley change your mind on Wednesday? Print, not a vibe. Ashley first.
Core at 1/10 a cooler, 10-year fading back through 470, and I sit down about the hike until Friday. Core 0.2 or hotter, and the 10-year looking through 480 into the Nvidia tape. That's my week, and I will not whisper it.
Core at 0.2 with yields that don't follow. That one would make me nervous because it means the bond market already priced it, or it means the bond market doesn't believe it. I'd rather see 1/10 and a boring 5-year auction. Boring is still allowed. Boring is still my base into a podium that used to come with a script.
Boring is a wish.
Most of my better weeks have been wishes that cleared. That's the record talking, not a slogan.
14 and 17. I heard you.
Nvidia, after the close. Same day. I told you Friday we were not previewing it on a Walmart tape. We're previewing it now. Street, Marcus, and don't give me a range you can't score.
CMC had $92 billion of revenue, about 97% growth, $209 in earnings, gross margin 75 against 72.7 a year ago. Motley Fool was close, 91.9 and 208. Call it 92 and 209. Stock closed Friday at 214.72, down about 1%, into a 5% week in the SOX. Marvel was Friday's worst S&P name, down 5.5. The group already paid. The print has to do more than exist.
Reuters, Saturday, citing Bloomberg. Some of Nvidia's largest customers have been told prices of servers with its AI chips will rise more than 15% in many cases. Memory costs soaring, effective on systems shipped early next year, including Vera Rubin and Grace Blackwell. Contract manufacturers already told Microsoft, Google, Oracle. Reuters couldn't verify it. Nvidia didn't comment because it was Saturday. 15%. Into a 30-year at 528. I love a price hike. I also think the build is getting more expensive at the exact moment the discount rate is.
Or its pricing power. You just described a company that can send a 15% letter and still book $92 billion. I'd rather own that than fade it because Bessent's $4 billion didn't hold.
Pricing power? Funded how?
Reuters, on Friday. Nvidia teamed up with 6 major financial institutions on financing platforms targeting more than $500 billion for AI infrastructure. 500. Against Broadcom seeking more than $60 billion, Reuters citing Bloomberg earlier in the week. That's not a company that's out of customers. That's a company whose customers are borrowing to stay in line.
$500 billion of financing is the reason. The 30-year doesn't care what Treasury said on television. A chip ecosystem going to the window for a number that makes $4 billion look like a rounding error. What does a 15% server hike do to your November multiple if the 10-year is at 480 on Thursday morning?
It makes me ask whether the hike sticks in the numbers or just in the article. If they guide to it on the call, it's a margin story. If they dance, it's a rumor that lived one weekend. I want the call, not Bloomberg on a Saturday.
The sentence you're actually listening for, not the print. The sentence.
Anything about financing, payback, or customers stretching out deployments. If Jensen starts talking about the cost of money, even sideways, that's my collision on a microphone. If it's all tokens and a raise, he gets Thursday morning and I wait for Warsh.
The raise. Next quarter revenue. They've trained this market to need the next number more than the last one. Clear 92. Lift the guide. Don't volunteer a macro essay. That's a demand quarter. The SOX already did 5% of work. A boring beat is allowed to bounce.
A beat that sounds like a Treasury department is not.
Correct.
Salesforce same night. CrowdStrike, HP, Okta, Synopsys. Thursday. Marvel, Best Buy, Workday, IREN. I'm not turning this into a calendar. Marvel reports into the hangover. That's the second semiconductor print of the week, and it was the name that already cracked.
Marvel is the confirmation or the fake out. If Nvidia holds and Marvel still can't, the group is still a duration trade with one hero. If both bounce, last week's SOX was a discount rate mark, not a demand mark. That's the distinction. I've been trying to keep this table from flattening.
I'm not flattening it. Demand can be fine and the stock can still not hold. 214. That's the whole point of duration. We wrote a note on it yesterday. Cash flow's 20 years out. A 1-point move in the discount rate hits a growth claim twice as hard as a mature one. That's not a vibe. That's
arithmetic. Arithmetic isn't a forecast. You keep using a formula as a prediction. The formula says if rates rise because growth is stronger, the numerator can offset. Friday's PM, I was the numerator. Wednesday's GDP is another look. You're assuming the rate rise is all term premium and fiscal fear. Some of it's an economy that printed 56.
Some of it's 40 trillion of debt and a buyback that starts in September. Don't you dare turn 528 into a growth celebration. I will not sit here and clap for a 19-year high because services are busy.
Easy. That split stays open. I'm not resolving duration versus growth at 6 on a Sunday. Tiebreak, louder, because it just grew a second head. Head 1, 480 on the 10-year versus 214 on Nvidia. Head 2, if Warsh on Friday talks like inflation is the constraint, Ashley's hike option is the week's organizing fact. If he talks like data dependence and sits on his hands, Marcus's economy can live here is, we'll know by Friday afternoon. We will not know on Wednesday night, so don't come in Thursday pretending the call ended at 5 o'clock.
Wouldn't.
Thursday is a gap day. Overnight repricing. Then, claims at 8:30, the 7-year auction, Jackson Hole opens. That's a lot of tape between Nvidia and Warsh. I'm not letting either of you crown the week on the first print.
Friday, 10 Eastern, give or take. Kevin Warsh's first Jackson Hole keynote as chair. Symposium runs Thursday through Saturday. Theme this year is financial innovation, payments, stablecoins, the digital money stack. Kansas City Fed's words, not mine. He took the job in May. Next, FOMC is September 16th. 19 days. Reuters had David Wagner at Aptus. All eyes on Jackson Hole because there's still not a whole lot of clarity and you can see it in the bond market. Will Sterling at Triton Point, base case is, he reinforces data dependence and says watch the numbers. He's okay with the market figuring it out.
Watch the numbers is not a policy. That's a chair who dropped traditional forward guidance telling you there is no. Put in the adjectives. I love it. I also think it's the scariest versus Jackson Hole because the last vote was 9-3 to hold at 350 to 375, 3 dissenters for a hike, and many participants said tightening would likely be necessary if inflation didn't decline. He withheld his own dot in June. Markets have no read on the chair's baseline. Friday is the first time they get one in the mountains, and I cannot believe we have to wait until 10 a.m. to find out whether he thinks 3.3 core is a problem. It's a problem.
Slow down. A first-year chair does not redefine the framework in front of every central banker on Earth, on a theme he picked because he can actually own it. Financial innovation is a topic. Inflation is the
Q&A. I know. I still want to hear if he thinks 3.3 is a problem.
I'd watch the questions more than the speech. Same sentence I used 2 Sundays ago because he still hasn't filled in the blank piece of paper. He called it that himself. A blank page that stays blank is still my base. A blank page that suddenly has a hike paragraph is the surprise. Don't trade the surprise before he writes it.
What does a hike paragraph do to your November call if oil is still 94 and gold is still sitting on 4,600?
It makes me smaller, not bearish. I'd rather own the thing that's booking the build than the thing that's discounting a grocery multiple. I said that yesterday. I'm saying it into a podium now, because the podium is not a short.
Chicago PMI and final Michigan under the keynote. Claims Thursday. Labor is not the week's theme unless claims break. Last print 206,000, 4-week average 204. If Thursday jumps, Ashley gets a second door into the hike conversation. If it sits, we already knew labor was tight.
Tight labor, sticky core, $90 oil. Those three can share a room. A capped long end can't. That's why 528 already came back, and that's why I'm not giving Bessent's September 9th operation any credit this week. It doesn't start. The long end has to clear on its own, through PCE, through Warsh, and through whatever cable it prints each morning.
September 9th is still a date. It's not this week's bid. I'll agree with that much. I will not agree that 528 is a new regime. 534 was Tuesday. 528 is a failed high with a retrace. Until the 10-year holds 480 on a session that is not a grocery crash and not a sanctions headline, you have a loud week, not a new world.
Human beat. Because we have been a bond desk, an oil desk, and a chip desk for 20 minutes, and it's Sunday. I made the coffee last night, put it in the fridge, and I am drinking it cold, on purpose, which I realize is a choice that says more about 6 a.m. than it does about taste.
That is not coffee. That is a science experiment.
It's a process. I respect a process.
You would.
We're 3 people about to spend 5 days arguing about a mountain in Wyoming, and I would like it on the record that none of us will be there. Back to it. Bitcoin, gold, the dollar. They did the funniest thing they could to a down week in stocks, and they traded all weekend while we didn't.
CME Bitcoin futures. Saturday settle around 77,200. Friday's pit high near 79,600. Saturday's note had it holding near 77,000, still about 25% above the 63 handle it occupied Wednesday. Ether easing toward 2,420 after Friday, near 2,515. Thin Saturday book. That's a squeeze digesting, not a new cycle high, until it holds the mid-70s into Sunday night.
Gold futures settled. Friday 4,675. 3-month high. Third weekly gain. COMEX up about 5.6 on the week. Dollar index finished down about 0.8 near 98.8. That's the 40 trillion card again. I got that wrong last week by $300. I'm not running it back as a call. I am running it as the tell. If gold is still sitting on 4,600 in a Warsh, the fiscal channel is open, and that's the channel that beat me.
I'll give you the tell. I won't give you 77,000 Bitcoin as a crash warning. Weaker dollar, White House push on the Clarity Act, Robinhood up 13.7 Friday. That's a bid. It can be a bid, and the S&P can still be heavy. Hold the mid-70s into Monday's cash open. The squeeze has sponsorship. Slide toward 72, 73. It's a positioning event that still needs the equity tape.
What does 25% Bitcoin do to your November multiple if the stocks just lost 5?
It makes me less interested in using the index as a mood ring. Same sentence as Friday. I'd rather own the thing that's discounting the debt than the thing that's discounting Walmart's ticket. Different patience.
One leftover because it showed up this morning. Reuters, Sunday. Alibaba proposing a $10 billion Hong Kong share placement to fund AI spending. Asia writing a check on the same weekend. Bloomberg is writing about a 15% server hike. The build is not a US-only duration story.
$10 billion from Alibaba, $500 billion in Nvidia's financing talk, $60 billion from Broadcom. And Treasury wants to buy $4 billion of its own long bonds starting in September. I cannot believe those numbers share a planet. I love it. I also think it's why the long end laughed at Wednesday's squeeze.
Or it's why the equipment still books. Deere told you Thursday construction and forestry were running on data centers. I'm not fading a 10 billion placement because the 30-year had a loud week. I'm asking whether the placement clears. That's cash. Cash ranked last week. I'm ranking it again.
What each of you needs to see by Friday. Not a vibe. Ashley.
Core 2/10 or hotter, or a 10-year through 480, even if the print is mixed. Bessent names a counterparty, or oil holds the mid-90s. Warsh sounds like inflation is the constraint, not a payments panel. Two of those three, hike option is the week's story. None of them. I had a loud Sunday and a quiet week, and I'll say so.
Marcus.
Nvidia clears 92 with a raise. Stock holds 214 through Friday. 10-year fails to hold 480 on a session that isn't a headline. Warsh is boring, or at least leaves the hike on the shelf. Demand print, dull podium, last week's SOX can bounce. Beat that can't hold a close. I hand her the week without a footnote.
Write that down.
Don't frame it.
Calls. Whole week. Checkable by Friday's close, not Monday's open. Ashley.
10-year closes. Friday at or above 4.80. That's the level I missed by a basis point twice last week, and I'm done being cute about 475. If PCE, oil, and a podium in Wyoming can't get the benchmark through 480, the squeeze still has a pulse and he gets duration. If it closes through 480, the bandage is done, and the hike conversation is live until September 16th.
Marcus.
Nvidia. Revenue at or above 92 billion, and a raise on the next quarter. If they clear it, I think the stock holds Friday's 214 close to Friday's bell. A demand quarter that can't hold the close is her week. A demand quarter that can is mine. I'm ranking the print over the adjectives. Same ranking as last week. It paid until it didn't. Then it paid again. I'm running it once more on a bigger name.
You're ranking a chip print over the long end again?
I'm ranking cash over a mountain. Same idea. Different zip code.
Wyoming is going to hurt your feelings.
Wyoming can get in line.
Ashley on 480 in the 10-year by Friday. Marcus on 92 billion and a raise, with 214 as the hold. The split does not close because a Sunday needs a bow. She thinks this is a cost of capital week. Sticky PCE, a 90 handle barrel, a chair who won't give you a put. Chips as the valve. He thinks demand can live here. A 56 p.m. a 92 billion print, a podium that stays boring. Watch 480 against 214. Watch whether Warsh talks like inflation is the constraint. That's the week. Here's the week in one breath. Monday, Bessent on Iran, first event that can move oil before cash reopens. Tuesday, confidence, new homes, Intuit and Zoom. Wednesday is the collision, core PCE at 8:30, GDP's second look, then Nvidia and Salesforce after the close with a 15% server hike story sitting on the weekend tape. Thursday, claims, Marvel, Jackson Hole opens. Friday, Warsh at 10. S&P closed 7,604, down 1.4 on the week. NASDAQ down 2.1. 10-year 474, 30-year 528, Brent 94.39, gold 4,675. Bitcoin 77,000, up about 25%. VIX 15. Buybacks still don't start until September 9th. Ashley is 14 and 17. Marcus is 17 and 13. If the show helps, follow Nova Ventures Daily wherever you get your podcasts, and find our written notes at novaventures.us. That's your Sunday setup. Have a great week, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.